This week, survival. War always brings men to the brink of death, doing all they can to dodge the Grim Reaper's scythe. But this week, survival goes beyond the individual to armies and governments. One wrong move will put Davis or Lee in a noose, and one failure will make them as good as dead. Can they avoid death to breathe for just one more week? General Lee has given John B. Gordon the ultimate task of his career: assault the weakest fortification on the federal line, capture it quickly, and move on to the supply depot that has kept General Grant before him. He has planned for 10 days and assembled 18,000 men. The time is now. 0400 hours, the forward Confederate skirmishers capture the federal pickets. Engineers move in to cut down the obstacles. Squads rush into the batteries, and within 30 minutes, they have achieved complete surprise. The resting regiments are awoken too late by the rebel charge, with 1,000 becoming prisoners. A few brave men don't go down, either saving the regimental flag or recapturing the guns. The first phase has been achieved, but the storming secessionists became lost in the trenches and fortifications, which become like the great labyrinth of legend. This buys vital time for the Federals to rally in a group, and most importantly, buys time for General John Parke and the 9th Corps to counterattack. With knowledge of the earthworks, the 9th Corps can ambush the confused attackers, starting small squads and breaking apart the assault. Federal batteries are turned into the labyrinth, cutting down the Confederates. It becomes increasingly apparent to those stuck in Stedman that if they were to retreat, they'd be exposing their backs to mass volley fire, leaving them only one option: to surrender. Those who do retreat are cut down by cancer shots and are turned into Swiss cheese. Federals also counterattack further south, bring the battle to a close with a great victory. General Lee watches with tears in his eyes. All have failed. Petersburg, his hope for the last 9 months, can't be held. Tens of thousands are lost, and for what? The old Virginian turns his horse around towards his headquarters, just as his rival arrives. The battle delayed a planned review of the Petersburg line, but by afternoon, General Grant and President Lincoln patrolled Fort Stedman in full view of the rank and file and prisoners of war. Even without seeing the ultimate symbol of his defeat, President Davis received Lee's letter.
I fear now will be impossible to prevent a junction between Grant and Sherman, nor do I deem it prudent that this army should maintain its position till the latter shall approach too near.
While it's not a joining of Sherman and Grant's armies, General Sheridan arrives at Grant's side, parading before the president. By the 27th, Sherman does arrive, though not with his army, and on the River Queen, the ultimate meeting is held. General Grant, commander of the armies; General Sherman, destroyer of the West; Commander-in-Chief, President Lincoln, and Admiral Porter is taking notes. A 2-day talk going over the end of the war, not just how to ensure the enemy's destruction, but how the final surrender should be conducted. We don't know much about this meeting due to it being the top brass. With the talks done, Sherman leaves and Lincoln just days later, though he wishes to stay and see the end of the war from the front lines. General Lee, unaware of the meeting, still understands that something is happening. Writing to his daughter, expresses his complete confusion of Grant's final campaign. There's one thing that is abundantly clear: Petersburg must be abandoned. The defensive lines can't be defended. What needs to be secured is the lines of retreat. East is Fort Stedman, no breakout possible. South, the Union is even stronger. That leaves north and west. North is undefended, but the Appomattox River is hard to cross. Only a small portion of the army can cross in time, lest the rest be annihilated. But the west is under threat. The right flank must be extended to the important junction at Five Forks, or the recently arrived cavalry of Sheridan can break apart any retreating Confederate column. 29th, we see this in action as the Federal 5th and 2nd Corps engage with the rebel 4th. The 4th is under the command of Lieutenant General Richard Anderson, but is only General Bushrod Johnson's division. The outnumbered rebels are soon put on the back foot as General Sheridan's cavalry push back his pickets and the Union infantry takes over the rifle pits. The only real opposition is faced by Brigadier General Joshua Chamberlain, his brigade being held at bay until reinforced. By nighttime, Johnson and his Confederate division have been forced back. This begins a race. Lee, realizing that his right flank could be turned, rushes General Pickett's command to extend the line, as Grant orders Sheridan to press the assault and take the Five Forks crossing. The rain on 30th turns the roads to mud, and random brigades are sent to keep the Union from striking the killing blow. General Lee meets with his commanders. His cavalry commander, Fitz-Hugh Lee, He took over from General Wade Hampton, which, as we know, has been sent south to General Joseph Johnston, receives a message. Sheridan's cavalry has been spotted. Pickett and Fitzhugh must keep the Union cavalry in check. The advancing 5th Corps of Warren can't be allowed to continue. Luckily for Lee, there's opportunity. The Union division of General Ayres is in an exposed position, having outpaced Warren's support. The 31st could be an opportunity. The White Oak Road is open to assault. Ayres can be turned, which is why the first movement of the rebels is confusing. General Pickett marches further south from the road to Dwindle Court House. With the aid of Confederate cavalry, Robert.E.Lee and General Rosser, they hope to strike Sheridan's cavalry. Luckily, the Union is ordered to the rebel riders, and a brigade is sent to stop the secessionists. The advance is halted until Pickett's infantry arrives, and with great firepower, pushes the Blue Boys back. Seeing an opportunity of his own, Sheridan orders 2 of his brigades to ride around and strike the infantry from the rear. This stops the advance on the flank, but Sheridan needs reinforcements to turn the tide of battle, which arrive with the normal fanfare as Custer's division begins to dig in. The Hussar Custer rallies the spirit of Sheridan's men, and with artillery batteries, the Union line is ready for the rebel assault. Pickett's charge goes much like his far more famous Gettysburg advance, suffering under the rifled cannons and combined gun fire. The night brings the battle to a close, with the two sides sleeping only 100 yards apart from each other. The rebels have achieved a tactical victory, but the question is, have they strategically succeeded? Has Sheridan been pinned out enough for the battle at White Oaks Roads? Has General Anderson and the 4th Corps overrun Ayres? The outnumbered rebels can do little to stop the advance on the morning of the 31st, besides harass the marching men. Around midday, will General Lee's direct orders do they assault? General Ayres, just as he starts to entrench, finds himself under enemy fire on the flanks, and quickly his men break. Fleeing in total panic, the men of Ayres' division run through the ranks of General Crawford's, destabilizing their brothers in arms who share a similar fate, flanked and forced off the battlefield to avoid being surrounded. Only the 1st Division of the 5th Corps remains, and through the brave actions of General Bartlett and his brigade, the onslaught is halted. The 2nd Corps under General Humphreys is ordered to support General Miles' division moves on the rebel flank, while our old friend General Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, there of Little Round Top, advances directly on the front.
General Chamberlain, will you save the honor of the 5th Corps?
Yes, he will. His small brigade charges directly into the strong Confederate line, even capturing part of the White Oak Road, though this is due to the work of General Miles. This flanking maneuver was a great success, forcing the rebel line to bend, cutting off communication between Lee and the 4th Corps, forcing many of the foe from their position. Chamberlain's bravery is great, but his success is due to the supporting division. This gives General Grant a great opportunity to direct his force to follow up on the success at the road and move on to Claiborne Road. Instead, he becomes focused on General Pickett, hoping to cut him off while his forces hold at the courthouse. General Ayres and Griffin are moved to encircle the enemy, but move too slowly due to exhaustion in the unforgiving terrain. Pickett, learning from captured Union soldiers about this plan, wishes to pull back across Hatcher's Run, but he gets a message from Lee.
Hold Five Forks at all hazards. Protect road to Ford's Depot and prevent Union forces from striking the South Side Railroad. Regret exceedingly your forces' withdrawal and your inability to hold the advantage you had gained.
The two officers don't have a great relationship, to say the least, but an order is an order. The rebels have lost the opportunity. Their breathing room is razor thin. Next week we will see how many men are lost in the retreat from Petersburg, and if the Army of Northern Virginia will still remain. As Virginia begins to crumble, he moves on to Mobile, Alabama. First, the rebel-held Spanish fort is put under siege. The rebel force within the walls need reinforcements, which will never come, unable to hold out for more than a few weeks. The other action in Alabama is a raid led by General James H. Wilson, whose goal is to burn the state like Sherman did Georgia, then more and the threat of Confederate commander Nathan Bedford Forrest. The federal force splits into 3 columns that continuously keeps the rebels guessing until General Forrest finds General Emory Upton, the whiz kid of the wilderness. The two sides engage at Montevallo, and Forrest is beaten. He doesn't have the numbers or the guns, and the Confederate cavalry falls back towards Selma. Davis knows his world is crumbling, writing to his old friend, Miss Cobb.
Faction has done much to cloud our prospects and impair my power to serve the country.
Davis knows this is his end. His power's all but gone. Sickles time. He is on a boat. It's a nice boat. That's where the week ends, and let's focus on the battle around Petersburg. The battle was a temporary halt of the Federal advance, a trade of casualties of about 1,500 rebel to 2,500 Federal. I would normally insert a quote or anecdote about the difference in manpower, maybe from Lee or a historian, but I'd like to reflect on what this means. Regardless of the loss of life, which is horrifying Lee, he has lost an ability to decide the campaign. He's being led by Grant. He might decide what his divisions do, but his army moves as the enemy wants. Hello, I'm Jonathan Teagan, the entire Civil War Week by Week team, and this is going to be a little bit longer an outro than I usually do. The series is coming to an end soon. I'm actually keeping the exact last week close to my chest, but the title will let you know. I have been able to say hello and report to you about every single week, minus one when Gettysburg took a little bit longer. From 28 seconds to basically a feature-length film, I have had the absolute honor and privilege to be listened to. I know it's customary for YouTubers to at the end of the video thank everyone who has helped them get there, but I hope you can tell that I really am honored that you've watched. I really do hope to see you guys to the end. This has been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Maybe once in, well, I might be the entire Civil War Week by Week team, but the amount you guys have helped me get through the series is more than I could convey. Thank you.